What's up guys, Bryce here, and we're back at it again for another video, and we will be doing a tier list of all of the iRacing road tracks. I've been wanting to do this video for a bit now. It's kind of been on my mind, but finally had the opportunity to make this video. So if you don't know what this is, basically we're just going to be ranking the current road tracks in iRacing, and based on my opinion, I know I shouldn't have to say this, but in the World City you have to say, yes, this is my opinion, this is not this is my opinion, so this is just what I personally think. You might think differently, but that's completely okay. So at the top we have Masterpiece, and then we have S, A, B, C, D. Now this is going to be based on like what I enjoy the most, and like, just kind of like how I would rank these tracks based on driving feel in the sim, and just what tracks I like the most, and which I think are just amazing tracks and which I think are not so amazing. So let's get started. Starting with Barber Motorsports Park. I've never driven this track. I've driven this like once in IndyCar. Don't have a lot of experience with it, so I can't really speak on it too much. But off of the like 2 or 3 laps that I've done, because I know they did do IndyCar here, so I bought the track. I'm gonna have to put this in a D tier. I really didn't. I don't know. Let's leave it in D tier for now. I might come back to it. Again, I think all these tracks are great, but it's just, I remember doing a couple laps. It was fun, but just something about it, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Next up, we have Spain, Circuit de Catalunya. This is a awesome track. I have a lot of great memories in this track in F1. In iRacing, I like it. I really do like it. I think I'm gonna. I really want to put it in S tier. I think I'm gonna put it in S tier. I think it deserves to be an S tier. It's a great F1 track. It's a very balanced track. That's why they do testing there. The last sector has been improved, and I think they're going back to like the MotoGP layout or taking out the chicane for F1. I think. So that will definitely make it more fun. I think it deserves an S tier. Next up, we have Detroit Belle Isle. This is another really fun track. I did a GT3 race here. It's a street course, so I love street courses. I'm going to have to put this in the A tier, I think. It's not quite up there with S tier. S tier street courses would, I don't know, because Monaco is still, not passing opportunities. You know what? Let's put an A for now. I think it's a great fun track. I really do like it. Very bumpy, but it's just not S tier yet. Brands Hatch. I like the track, but it's so simple and short, which is what's great about it. But I do like it. If I put this in, I really want to put this in B. I know people won't like that, but for me personally, I think I'm going to have to put Brands Hatch in B. Driving on that track doesn't excite me all that much. I think the first sector is really good. The middle sector is just 3 right-handers. It's fun. It's a fun track, but I think for now, it's going to have to be B tier in my book. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And I'll probably come back to this and kind of move stuff around. I'm also going to be doing it like in order too. So S, this would, first and S, and then so on. Canadian Tire Mosport. This is a fun track. I've done races here. I haven't had the best of luck. It's a fun track. I'm gonna have to put it in B though. It's fun. Like, it really is a fun track, but it's not a track that I'm like, I really want to drive here. It's fun though. It's honestly a hard track. Charlotte Motor Speedway. This is a pretty cool track. This I honestly find kind of fun, believe it or not. I think it's cool, at least the like road course version of it, but it's not really memorable really at all. So I'm gonna have to put this in C for me. Like, it's fun, but it's not a memorable track that you really want to go back and drive at. Kind of road oval courses are decent. Put that there for now. COTA, Circuit of the Americas. This is a fun track. I like this track a lot. pretty relatively new. I think it came out in 2014 when they did this track. Where am I going to put it though? This is tricky. It's not S tier material. I'm going to have to put this in B. It's there for me in between Most Sport and Brands Hatch though. It's a fun track. I think the first sector is a lot of fun. Middle sector with that long back straight. You know, like it's a fun track. I will say it is a fun track. I'm gonna put it in the front of B actually. It's a fun track. The faster the car that you're driving, the more fun it is. The slower the car, I feel like it can be a little lengthy, especially with that long back straight. But it does offer for good racing, at least with the races that I've done. Last sector is super tricky. But I'm gonna put Coda there. Daytona. Daytona, it's a good track. I'm gonna put in B tier. I'm gonna put in B after Coda. Not much to say about this. I haven't done a lot of races here. It's fun. But for me, it doesn't really pop out to me. Like Daytona, it's cool. Doesn't really pop out though in any particular way. Donington Park. This is a iconic track. I'm gonna have to put this in the top 2. It might be S tier. Donington is a really good track. It's so iconic. I'm gonna put it in A tier in the front. It's a good fun track. You have the kind of the last sector, which can be either the little right-left chicane, which I've done in the Radical, or you can go down to the hairpin. Over in Europe, it's super popular. First sector is a lot of fun. It's a really good track, and for sure, like A or S tier quality. Fuji Speedway. This is a track that I've really loved, and I've always wanted it in iRacing, but kind of when it came to iRacing, I haven't done a lot of races here. I don't even think I've ever done a real race here, like an iRacing official. I really like this track. I really like Fuji. I think the thought of it is a lot of fun. I'm going to have to put it in B. I think it's great. I do like it. I haven't done racing here though, so I can't speak on the racing aspect of it. Doing laps here can be a little boring. The front straight is, I think, the longest front straight ever. But that's going to be that. Next up, Montreal Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. Probably pronounced that wrong, but Montreal, Canada. Iconic track. I've been there twice in real life, so that would probably make me a little bit biased towards this track. I think it's fun. It's very tight. It's almost like a tight street course. I like this track. I think the racing, it doesn't offer great racing because there's not that many passing opportunities. The flow of it is nice. Not many passing opportunities. I'm going to have to put this in the front of B tier. I think it's a great track. I could put in A at the end. It's an iconic track, but not for racing. I haven't had the best thrilling races here. Hockenheim, I'm going to have to put this in Masterpiece. I really do like Hockenheim. I think, yeah, I love Hockenheim. I don't know why. I think it's just such a fun flowing track. So many passing opportunities. I just love this track a lot. I'm sad they took it out the F1 calendar, but I've had a lot of great races here and I just like it. I think turn 1 is awesome. Going down to the hairpin and then you come out the hairpin and then you have the left and the right. The last sector is so tricky because you're on the limit. I love Hockenheim and this is, for me, definitely a Masterpiece worthy track. Homestead Miami Speedway, this is going to be a D tier. I've driven this track before. I've won all of the races that I've done because we're barely any people in it. I think it's a good track, but it's not that fun. It's, well, is it a good track? I don't really know. I like it. Kind of the road course is cool, but it's boring. It's honestly boring. So I'm going to have to put it in D tier. Hungaroring, this is another one of my favorite tracks. I really like it. It's, I don't know if it's up there with Masterpiece, but I'm going to put it in the S tier. I think it's a really fun track. It's one of kind of the tighter, twisty tracks that I really do enjoy. I think the chicane, the little right left in the second going to third sector is a really awesome sequence of corners. The fast left-hander, then you go to the right, and then that little chicane is awesome. And I like this track. I like this track a lot. Turn 1 is a lot of fun. Then you have the downhill left-hander. it's a fun track. It's hard, but it really is a fun track. It's easy to learn, but definitely hard to master. Um, Imola. Imola, I like. Not my favorite track, but I'm gonna have to put this in S tier. It's Imola. I think it's an awesome track. Again, it's really tight, so in F1 you don't see, the most entertaining races, but you do get, nice passing and stuff like that. But for racing, I like it. Reminds me of Hungaroring, with the chicane in the back that's easy to get off track. I love the last sector a lot, and the middle sector I do enjoy. Has some iconic corners in there, which I don't know the names of. This is going to be S tier for me. Indianapolis. The road course is surprisingly good. Like, I think the road course is good. I've done races here and I think it's fun. I'm going to put this in A tier at the end. I think it's way more fun than Daytona. It's a fun track. Turn 1 is iconic for me. I really like turn 1. And kind of the middle sector is cool. It's a good road course track, but for me, it's just good. It's not great, but I think it's good. Like, I think it's a really good track. Interlagos, Brazil, iconic track. I like it. I think I would like it more if iRacing rescanned it. I've done this track in Assetto Corsa, but this track, it's so tempting. It's for sure S material or masterpiece. I'm gonna put in masterpiece. Just thinking about going down to turn 1, you brake super late, and you just hook the car on the inside and then swing it back to the right, and it's all downhill, which makes it really cool. For me, this is gonna be a masterpiece track. Interlagos and Hockenheim so far are up there. I think it's really good. I know Hockenheim might be a little controversial for some of you putting it in masterpiece, but I think this is a masterpiece track. Next up, Knock Hill Racing Circuit, one of the newly added tracks last year. I think it's a great track. I think for touring cars, it's a lot of fun. Like, this track is a fun track. So I'm going to have to put this at the end of B. It's a good track. And now that I'm looking at this, you could say some of these could move up, which I will look at that later, kind of analyze it. But that's going to be that. Next up, Laguna Seca. We have a lot of tracks, actually. So I didn't realize how many we had. But Laguna Seca. It's not my favorite track just because I'm not the best at it. To be completely honest, I'm not that fast at it. I think I'm quick there, but it's so hard to hook up the last sector. It's all about momentum. It has to be, it's such an iconic track as well. And I know a lot of people love this track, and you have the corkscrew, and it's definitely a iconic track. I'm going to have to put this in A tier at the end, in front of Indy. It's a good track. It offers pretty good racing, tight racing here. It's very unique, kind of an old school track. So I'm going to have to put this in A tier. And I think that's pretty solid so far what we have. 24 Hours of Le Mans. I've never done a race here. I've done laps here. I have like very little experience with this track. I'm going to put this in B tier. I think it's a good track. Again, I don't have much experience, to be completely honest. I know the track, but I've never done a race here. I've done maybe a maximum of like 3 laps here in Assetto Corsa. So it's hard for me to speak on this track. But, I know it's good. But for me, I'm going to have to put it in B tier. Just because I've never driven it really. I know it has some really long straights. But I'm going to put Knock Hill behind it. Just for the iconicness, I'm going to put it in B. And yeah, all these tracks are good as well. I just think D tier is probably the least of the bunch. But next up, Lime Rock. This is where I'll be going actually. Pretty simple. You have a right-hander, then a left-hander, another right-hander. And then you go up the hill, a right-hander, then another right-hander. Then you're pretty much done with the lap. For the track itself, for the actual track, it would probably honestly have to be B. It's a simple track, but just for the iconicness and the fact that it will be going here in real life, it will be an A tier for me. One of my favorite street courses, and probably the street course that I'm the best at, that I just love the most out of all of these. Detroit Belle Isle is a lot of fun too. That's definitely up there. I'm going to have to put this in A tier. right behind Detroit Belle Isle. I think I like Detroit a little bit more because it has a little bit more variation between the corners. Long Beach is very fun though. You know what? Trying to see which is better, Laguna Seca or Long Beach. That's a hard one. They're both in California, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna put that there. I think Long Beach sits pretty nicely there. Yeah, it's a fun track. You have the fountain section. The last hairpin is super tight. You have kind of the middle sector, which is fun. A little straight in between. Hard to pass. It's a classic street circuit that I like and I think is a good track. Magny Cours. I did a bunch of racing here recently. The last race that I did about 3 or 4 races at Magny. I had good success here, won a couple races. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about this track. The participation hasn't been incredible. I think it's fun. I think it's a good track. I think it's a fun track. It does offer like a lot of variation with corners. It's challenging. It has to be up there with A. I think there would be a pretty good place for it. It was an F1. It's iconic. Definitely a long track, but again, it has a lot of variation between corners. There's not much to say about it. I think if you drive it for yourself, you'll see what I mean. It's a good track. Challenging, but it's fun. Monza, this is going to have to be... I would put it in Masterpiece, and I might put it in Masterpiece, but just because it's Monza. I don't want to put it here just because it's Monza. The track layout itself is good, but races can be a little boring just because of all of the long straights. It is really easy to learn, but is the most hard to master, in my opinion. The Lesmos are super hard. You really just need to nail everything on this track. You need to know what you're doing because the inputs matter so much on this track. One little mistake and you lose a few tenths. All right, you know what? I'm putting this in S tier. I'm putting it in S tier. I think it's good. I think it's one of the best tracks in the world. But for me personally, it's not a masterpiece. I might move it up there later. We'll see. Stick around and find out. Mount Panorama. Bathurst. I would put this in the masterpiece, and I'm going to put this in the masterpiece. This is one of the most unique tracks in the world. It's in Australia. It's in the mountains. It's a long track. You go into the mountains, has crazy corners, come out the mountain, you have a long straightaway. There's nothing like this track, and it's a very hard track to learn and a very hard track to master. And I think this track is very well worthy of being a masterpiece. It has its flaws, as it can be tricky for passing, and it's not really the most friendly to more beginner drivers. It's intimidating. It may veer some people away from driving here in the officials just because of the difficulty of the track. But for me, I think it's a masterpiece. I think as a kid, you've always wanted to have these cool tracks like going through the mountains and like crazy elevation changes. And that's exactly what this track offers. So it is going to be a masterpiece for me. Next up, Nürburgring. Nürburgring, I like it. It's not as favorited by me as it is by other people. I know a lot of people love the Nürburgring. I'm gonna have to put this in A tier in the front though. It's a good track. It's a really fun track. F1 raced here, and it's just good. It's very iconic. And if you include the Nordschleife in here, you could put that at masterpiece too. But it just says Nürburgring. I don't see a Nordschleife here. So let's just say this is just the Nürburgring. If it was the Nordschleife, I would put this in masterpiece as well. But just for the Nürburgring's sake, I'm going to put this in A. It has a nice flow to it. You have fast corners. You have a big hairpin, slow corner in turn 1, a great passing opportunity. I feel like this could go in S tier. You know, I think I'm going to put this in S tier. I'm going to put this in S tier at the end. I think this is very much worthy of being an S tier track. A lot of tracks to go, but we are chugging along. Okayama, this is going to be a C tier track. It's fun. I like it. It's not the most favorite thing in the world for me, but it's a cool track. I like the idea. I like the concept of it. I've had some pretty good races here as well. Not much to say about that. Oran Park, a cool track. I've done this in Mazda. It's a track that isn't very well known. I didn't really know much about it until I drove it, and I haven't driven this track in a while. And this is the Oran Park. It's a fun track. I would say C, back at C tier. It has a nice flow to it in the Mazdas. It's fun. It offers great races in the Mazdas, because that's the only thing that I've done it in. So that's going to be a C tier for me. I would put this in the front though. Ashlandbin in the Motorsport Arena. I think I'm saying that right. I used to love this track in Project Cars 2 and in Assetto Corsa. I really do like it. It's going to be an A tier in front of Lime Rock just because of the track layout I do like. But, you know, it's a fun track. But to put this in front of all of these tracks, hard to say. I think I'd put it there. But it's definitely an A tier track. I like it a lot. The first corner is a lot of fun, especially the really tight left and the right. Middle sector has a nice flow. You have kind of the long right-hander, and then you have a little chicane. And you just have a nice flow of corners that kind of lead on throughout the whole lap. So I like this track a lot. I really do like the layout of it, but I think it's hard to compare it to like Monza and Hungaroring and Spain. But this is a fun track. I do like it a lot. Oulton Park. This is a pretty popular track in the UK, and I do like this track a lot. I'm going to have to put this... it's definitely A tier material. Whether it's in front of Donington or not is tricky to say. I'm going to put it right there, right behind Donington. I like this track a lot. It's hard. It's a tight track, very old school. First sector. All the sectors are fun. This is a really fun track. It's very tight. I haven't done GT3 here. I can only imagine how tricky that would be. The last sector is really kind of, I feel like the track narrows up a lot. This is a fun track, a really awesome time here. Phillip Island in Australia. This is going to have to be C for me. In front of Charlotte. Put Charlotte at the end, actually. Phillip Island is cool. It's a nice track. It's not memorable. It's tricky. It doesn't really have kind of that bite and kind of the pop that the other tracks have for me. I do like it. It's really hard, but I don't find a crazy amount of enjoyment here. So that's going to be that for me. Next, we have Red Bull Ring in Austria. This track is one of those tracks that is very popular within all racing communities because it's an easy track, but there are so many people who are so quick on this track, especially in the F1 games and in iRacing. There are a lot of people who love this track because of how easy it is to drive, but also just how good you can get if you keep on practicing at it. It has a really nice flow. There's not a lot of slow corners here. It's all very fast paced. Great passing opportunities. It's a really fun track. It's challenging. This is automatically going in the S tier at the end. I like it, but again, for me the biggest flaw in this track, and not even a flaw because all tracks are different and they're all meant to do different things. I think as a track, it's great. But for me, what kind of sets it apart from these up here is there's no technical parts of the track. It's kind of all fast-paced corners, which is great. And that's what makes the track amazing as it is. But for me, it just doesn't have it's really good though. I know turn 4, like that downhill right-hander is great for passing. And it's just, I really do enjoy this track. Definitely don't discredit it, but I'm going to put that there. So next up we have Road America. Road America is currently in the iRacing officials right now. I was just driving it last night. I like it. It's a really fun track. It's not my favorite because this is probably my worst track. Besides Suzuka, which is coming up, I think. This is probably one of my slowest tracks. I don't know, it's just really hard for me to get up to speed quickly, like on some of the other tracks. This is going to have to be B tier at the front. It's fun. I like it a lot, but I don't really find a crazy amount of enjoyment with this track, but I do like it a lot. That's kind of all I have to say about this. Road Atlanta. Road Atlanta is really hard. I find the first sector difficult and kind of the whole lap really difficult. It's such a challenging track. The curbs are huge. But yeah, it's a good track. I think it's fun. Not too much to say about this track. You kind of have to drive it. Simple, but I like it. It's a very old school. We're getting into kind of the old school tracks a little bit here. This is going to have to be B tier as well, right behind Road America. I like it, but for me personally, this is just going to be lower down because for me, it's a hard track. I get frustrated about this track because it's hard to gain time, but once you get into a flow, it is fun. You know, it's a fun track, but it's tricky. It really is tricky. You are focused 100% of the time. Kind of all I have to say. It's just a difficult track for me, honestly. Rootskagen, whatever this track is called. The newest free one that they came out with. Rootskogen. I'm totally pronouncing that wrong. I know what this is. This is the latest track that they came out with in iRacing. It is it's a cool track. I like it. I do like the layout of it. It's fun. I haven't done too much racing here. I'm gonna have to put this in B tier in front of Daytona. I think it's good. I like the layout of it. I haven't done a race here, so not too much to speak on that. But it's a good track. I do like it a lot. Sandown is a good track. Another one of those tracks that they just came out with last year in the third quarter. It's a good track. I like it. I've done 1 or 2 races here. It's challenging, great for touring cars, kind of like a Knock Hill type circuit, but a bit longer. It's better than Knock Hill though. I'm going to have to put this in. I'm going to have to put this in. Let's do this. I'm going to have to put this in C at the front and put Knock Hill here as well. Yeah, that's where I'm going to put this. I think it's good. It's a cool track. I love the technicality of it, and the curbs are kind of cool to jump over. But it's not really iconic. It doesn't really stand out a lot to me. So I'm going to have to put that there. Sebring. This is going to have to be an S track. The first US track that we are putting in the S tier. It's a lot of fun. It's so hard. The track is so bumpy, and it really is a challenging track, but I think that's what puts it in the S tier for me because I do enjoy the challenge at this track. And there's so many fast guys here. I think the longer the track is, generally speaking, the bigger lap time gap there is. I think there's almost a 2-minute lap. It's a fun track. Out of all the tracks in the US, this is definitely up there as being one of the best. But yeah, I think Sebring for me is going to be an S tier track. I like it a lot. Hard to compete with these other ones, but I think it's a really good track. Silverstone. Now we're getting into some of the good tracks. Silverstone. You know it's going to be somewhere up here. I love Silverstone. I'm going to have to put this at the front of S tier. It's Silverstone. I love this track as well. Iconic. I've driven this track so much. I think because of the lack of elevation change, and it's very wide, you can make mistakes here. For me, it's just an S tier. I think it's just Silverstone, but again, it's a pretty iconic track and definitely one of the greatest tracks ever. So that's going to be there for me. I'm really tempted to put an S tier though, because I'm thinking of driving GT3 cars, but driving like an open wheel car here or LMP car is a lot of fun. But for now, it's going to be at the front of S. Snetterton, a great track. Definitely going to be in the mix of Donington and Olton. I'm going to put at the end here. Snetterton is a fun track. I like it a lot. Not much to say about that one. I haven't done a race there. I love the corners. I personally like sausage curbs. I think they're fun to kind of go over. It kind of makes it a little bit more technical. So I like Snetterton a lot. Sonoma, I do enjoy Sonoma. I really do enjoy Sonoma Raceway. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to have to put this in A tier. Yes, I'm going to put Sonoma in front of Laguna Seca. I think the first sector is awesome. The middle sector, the last sector. This is a really fun track in my opinion. I really do like Sonoma. Hard to compete with these other tracks, but I do enjoy Sonoma. Spa, this is a masterpiece. Yeah, like it's Spa. It is a masterpiece of a track in front of Interlagos and Mount Panorama. Yeah, there's not much to say. Eau Rouge, great. You have the middle sector, last sector. Everything about this track is phenomenal. I cannot wait for them to rescan this track in iRacing. That'll make it probably in front of Hockenheim for me. But yeah, it's Spa. It's a iconic, one of the best tracks in the world. Summit Point Raceway. I've done this track. I like it. It's going to be in the mix of these kind of C tier tracks. It's going to be behind Orn Park and Phillip Island. It's fun. But again, not much that stands out for this track. Suzuka, I would put this in masterpiece, but I'm not the best at this track. Like, it's so hard, and it's kind of taken away a bit of the enjoyment for me. But I know that this track is masterpiece to so many people out there. But for me personally, in my experience driving it, it's a great track, but I haven't had much enjoyment. But it really is a masterpiece of a track. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put this, for me, it's gonna be, oh god, I see the comments already, but it's gonna be towards the end of S tier. I think it's great. It really is a masterpiece, but in terms of my experience, I feel so bad putting it there, but it is a masterpiece. But my experience there, it's hard for me to find enjoyment from the track. I kind of like more of like, it is a technical track. I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it there for now. So next we have Tubuska Circuit. This is the first track that I don't know what track this is. I'm gonna have to look up a YouTube video. Oh, I know this track. This is like the short one. I know this track. This is a short track. This is gonna be D tier. This is gonna be D tier. It's a small track. It's fun. Not much to say about it though. Pretty basic. For me, it's gonna be D tier. Twin Ring Motegi. I've done a lot of races here. I like this track. I'm gonna have to put it at the front of C. It's fun. It's good. I don't know why, but I just remember doing GT3 races here, kind of when I first started in iRacing. Twin Ring Motegi. It's a good track. I like it a lot. VIR is going to be an S tier, definitely in front of Sebring. I liked VIR a lot. It's a technical track. It's fun. They just rescanned it, which is awesome, and it's in the US as well. Yeah, I think it's a great track. It's just an American racetrack. It's fun, technical, twisty corners, no room for errors, a lot of elevation change. S tier for me. Watkins Glen. This is going to be at the end of masterpiece for me. I do like Watkins Glen a lot. I've been there in real life, and I did a whole 2.5 hour race in iRacing at Watkins Glen. So I know this track so well, and I do like this track a lot. It's really fun. The flow of it is great. No technical corners. It's all fast paced. There's no like heavy braking zones besides turn 1. But you know what I mean? Like, there's no like chicane that's really slow. Bus stop is awesome. So we have 3 tracks left. We have Winton Motor Speedway. I don't remember this track. Have I driven this track before? I've never driven Winton Motor Speedway. I think I own it. I've never driven this before, but I've seen onboards and stuff. I'm gonna have to put this in C. I think it's probably in a C tier track. In front of Summit Point one of the newer tracks. I've seen it before. It's fun. It looks pretty fun. And yeah, it's kind of what I have to say about that. Zandvoort for me, it's gonna have to be in B in the front. I think it's a fun track for sure. Really good. But there's not a crazy amount for passing. I like it, but for me, it's just gonna be a B tier. Zolder, the last track on the list. I really like Zolder. I think it's a really fun track. It's gonna be an A tier. I think there is a good spot for Zolder. All right, guys, that is it. That is my iRacing track tier list. That's me for me. In Masterpiece, we have Hockenheim, Spa, Brazil, Mount Panorama, and Watkins Glen. Those would be my Masterpiece tracks for me personally and what I love. S tier, Silverstone, Monza, Hungaroring, Spain, Imola, Nürburgring, Red Bull Ring, Suzuka, VIR, and Sebring. And then you can see the rest here. So I think that's looking pretty good, in my opinion. Again, all these tracks are good. Like I look at Fuji and I say this could totally be an A tier, but just off of my experience, I really want to put Fuji in A. Fuji's honestly like in between A and B for me. We can put it there as well, but that's gonna be it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Probably a longer video than usual, but hopefully you guys did enjoy, and I will see you all in the next video, guys. Bye bye.